All right, we are back for episode 2 of Ahsoka. And just like the first episode, we're getting lots of throwbacks to Rebels, but also a very clear path forward into this episode where we have fully determined the first arc of the season. And if I look at the past few Star Wars shows that they've done, usually these arcs usually last 3 to 4 episodes. So I'd say this is probably going to roll into at least next episode, if not the fourth episode as well, before you see a conclusion of the first arc. But I don't want to spoil anything here because these are fully spoilery episodes. So if you haven't ever watched one of mine episodes before, one of my reviews, I don't do spoiler free. So we're talking all the things today about this episode. So if you haven't watched it yet, make sure to go away, watch it, come back, and dive in. Bottom line is, it's Star Wars. It's Dave Filoni operating on all cylinders. 10 out of 10 episode once again. And yeah, we're gonna get something out of the way right now. We're gonna do a countdown first, though. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have had your final warning. Don't forget, if you like what you see here today, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. I got my show notes. There's a few. Um, the healing thing, I get it. Like the first thing, I didn't even get a chance to watch the episode because I didn't watch these back to back. I watched episode 1 when it came out, and then I waited until today to watch episode 2, or tonight specifically. I'm literally watching this at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't avoid spoilers. Like, because I live on social media because of my job, it's impossible to fully avoid spoilers. And the first thing that got spoiled for me, when and you, it's not that it got spoiled because I knew that Sabine wasn't gonna die. So it's like you knew that she wasn't gonna get killed by the lightsaber stab to the gut. But immediately, Qui-Gon Jinn memes across the internet of Qui-Gon's stare after he gets stabbed, like looking out into the void. But I get it from a storytelling perspective because, you know, there are a lot of variables that can go into this, and I'm just going to say the easiest one for me from a storytelling perspective is, for all we know, in the heat of what was going on with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, they weren't near a Bacta tank. They didn't have a ship right there. There was no way to save them. And when we saw the end of the episode, Ahsoka was literally arriving on her ship, and they've got emergency stuff on that ship. There's emergency med bays and so on and so forth to very quickly get Sabine into some sort of cryo tank or whatever the case may be that they have in that, back to tank. Why did I say cryo tank? I'm thinking other science fiction stuff. But anyway, there are story reasons. So it's not a big deal to me. I know it is a big deal to some people because they're like, they're just so stupid because Qui-Gon should have been able to be saved. Dude, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon were in the complete depths of a facility in the middle of a war, and there was no one else around because everybody was off fighting. That's totally a different scenario. So, um, yeah, poor Qui-Gon, but also it is what it is. Um, we find out that this star map, Sabine tells Ahsoka that the star map is apparently a link between two galaxies. And it shows a path between, but she didn't get a chance to see where the planet was that is going to be the originating point from our galaxy. So that sends Ahsoka on the hunt. The next scene, which is, I believe, the thumbnail shot I used for this episode. I haven't finalized my thumbnail decision, but I'm recording this and I already took some screenshots. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm using. There's this ominous ruins on a planet called Ciatos, and Balin believes they've located this reflex point, and it's a really cool. I like the way it felt when they got here. It just feels exploratory, but also ominous, and with the music and everything else. Um, then we've got Ahsoka investigating Sabine's house for clues, and then she finds a remote droid that got left behind that's halfway damaged, and she manages to take its head off, takes it back to Sabine. They look into it. Turns out it came from Corellia. Then we're back to Ciatos with Lady Morgan, who has arrived, and she reveals these ruins were built by people from a distant galaxy. And as this whole shot here is so cool, where she activates the map and they see the star map and the galaxies and everything all around them. And Balin mentions something about the pathway to Peridia, and she's like, "Well, yeah, that's what it was called." He's like, "That was a rumor, it was a myth. The Jedi children talked about that at the temple." But apparently this is where Thrawn is, and Morgan says she can hear his voice in her dreams, and Balin's like, "Yeah, you're just wishful thinking, probably, projecting." Then there's mention of something called the Eye of Sion, which we find out later turns out to be a big transportation device that they're building, which needs multiple hyperdrives, and it's going to carry them from one galaxy to the other. Um, and then um, in the process of all of this, the apprentice gets sent off to Corellia to meet someone called Murrock, who is overseeing the final transport of something, aka a hyperdrive, to the Eye of Sion. In the conversation of all this, we find out that Lady Morgan at one point in time had facilities on Corellia, and she used to build ships for the Empire. So Hera and Chopper and yay for Chopper, um, and Ahsoka are off to Corellia to inspect the old shipbuilding facilities. And there's a whole scene here where they find out that these old dismantled Star Destroyers and stuff are being parted out and shipped out, and this one hyperdrive is being sent off, and they want to know where. And as they investigate, they find out that there was an HK droid here, and it had orders that superseded anything else that the protocol droids had, and so they agreed, and that's where this hyperdrive core is being shipped off to. And as this is revealed, you get some guys in this office arena who are like, "For the Empire," and attack Ahsoka and Hera. There's a really cool fight sequence here. Hera goes out the window, running down to chase down the ships and stuff, and meets up with some. I'm assuming this is an old Inquisitor because of the lightsaber, but he's got a mask on. And there's a fight sequence between her and this guy, and then he escapes and jumps onto the ship with Balin's apprentice, who I still don't think we've heard the name of yet. I'm sure I could go look it up, but it hasn't been mentioned in the film yet, in the show, so I don't know her name. Um, the whole time that that's going on the ground, Hera and Chopper are flying up in the Phantom, which is another great Rebels throwback, and they're chasing down this transport ship to try to get it. Um, and they can't, so they decide to chuck a transport, excuse me, a tracking device on the ship. And this is one of the funniest sequences of the episode because Hera is arguing with Chopper and he can't find the tracking device. And he's like, "Did you go through my stuff?" And she's like, "No, I didn't go through your stuff." And it's funny because for the first time, at least for me, you could kind of understand what Chopper's saying. Even though it's droid speak, but it was done in such a way that it's like, "Did you go through my stuff?" She said, "No, I didn't." Like, "Yes, you did." Like, there was some really cool stuff here. It was quite funny. Um, Meanwhile, let's see here. They do end up getting a tracking device on it, which of course, excuse me, um, means that Ahsoka now knows where to go, or at least knows where to go to find the ruins. The next scene is Sabine cutting her hair off and donning her Mandalorian armor and picking up her lightsaber and sending a message to um, Ahsoka that she's ready to once again become an apprentice and join the fight. But there's also a moment when she's doing that where she's got the painting on the wall of her abode and she's, touching Ezra's face. And it's a very emotional kind of tug for her because of, hope, the hope that Ahsoka mentioned in the first episode. Meanwhile, we see the hyperdrive delivered to this installation onto the Eye of Sion, and they mention going off to rescue Thrawn. And at the same time, Lady Morgan questions Balin regarding Ahsoka Tano, and he admits to her that her presence disturbs him, and she's like, "Well, why?" And he just basically mentions, "Well, uh, her 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 actions are clouded in my visions, but her determination is crystal clear. She will come for us." And Lady Morgan's like, "Well, then you should kill her." And I love Balin's answer. He's like, "It would be a shame to kill her. There are so few Jedi left." And Morgan accuses him of being sentimental?" And he goes, "No, I'm just being truthful," and then cuts the communication. And so you get the sense that this is why I think this is the confirmation that everyone was looking for, that Balin is not a Sith. He is a gray Jedi. Um, obviously went through some shit at the end of the Clone Wars and Order 66 and everything, but he's not evil per se. At this point, it looks like he's just basically in the pursuit of power, which is sort of a dark side thing, but he's not driven by the Sith absolutes, from what I can tell. And he also has two apprentices because he has the girl and this other guy, Merrick, who is with him at the end of this episode. So the Sith always deal in twos, and this guy has more. So I don't think he's a Sith. I think it's Dark Jedi. And he doesn't appear to be fully evil. He's mostly just doing this for money and power. So, um, interested to see where this goes. I know some people were up in arms because they said that the wording they used with it was that Thrawn is in exile, and I've heard people, that's not true. He's not in exile. He's blah 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 blah. Sometimes wording is spoken or written from the perspective of a character, and it shouldn't be taken as an absolute. Only Sith steal an absolute, right? Um, so I think from my perspective, regardless of why Thrawn is where he is, in Lady Morgan's eyes, he is in an exile, whether that's a forced exile or otherwise. But all we know is that he's in another galaxy, and they have to figure out a way to get to that galaxy, and that's the current story plot. So I guarantee next episode you're going to see Ahsoka and Sabine show up on this planet, and there's probably going to be some sort of a face-off between Balin and her, I would assume. But you know that the transport's going to work, and they're going to get to Thrawn because we've already seen Thrawn in the trailers, so we know they get him out. So yeah, food for thought. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on the episode. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. 10 out of 10 for me. But I'm a Star Wars baby. I will love it till I die. You can't take the sky from me. Even though that's another reference to another show, it still is applicable here. See you next time, everybody. May the force be with you.